start with this. Craig Smoak, Brett Yormark, his contract extended. It was through 2027. It has now been extended through 2030. He's pretty much done almost everything right. There's a few things that have been questionable, but he has led the Big 12 into what he hopes and they hope will be the next, frontier when it comes to the NCAA, whether it's realignment, whether it's the college playoff, whatever it is, he is in charge for a little bit longer.
Yeah, congrats to him, and good to have that solidified, to know that as we get closer to what perhaps is the next evolution with all the TV contracts running up here at the end of the 2020s, the beginning of the 2030s, that he'll be around to see all that that entails for the next, near decade. I mean, I'm half a decade. You get older and you think the year's like 2 or 3 years earlier than it really is. So I'm still like in 2023, I think, right now. But yeah, 2025, so really 5 years. But still, though, that's a good amount of time. He's done an excellent job in promoting the league, in building out the league, and trying to give it an identity, and trying to find new ways to make money, and trying to make it as relevant as possible. And some things have worked really well. Some things have maybe not worked so well, or maybe needed tweaking or whatever, but I think he's done an excellent job. There's a lot of people that were poo-pooing all over him because he was some outsider and he wasn't like through the university system and the traditional, I guess, maybe more commissioner route. But I don't know. I think he's been nothing but good for the leagues. I think the Pac-12 would probably disagree, but that wasn't blood on his hands as much as it was on their own commissioner. So he won that duel pretty clearly. And I'm excited to see what he can do in the next few years. I don't know what all outside of, the private equity discussion and things like that are in store for the next 5 years of the Big 12, but they're arguably the number 3 conference when the dust settles again. I mean, that's the hope, I think, for a lot of the fans. But man, there's just so many things that could happen in the next few years. And I think that with that amount of uncertainty, to have your commissioner in place and to be the guy who's been kind of guiding you the last couple of years is a good thing for the league overall. So yeah, congrats to him, and excited to see what he has in store.
I'll put this up for the chat room too. Garrett, if you want to respond, love to. And if you want, I'm on Twitter at David Smoak. We can do that too. But if you put an order right now, and again, a lot of it depends on the timeline and the deadline, the calendar, what is most important for him in order? Making sure the Big 12 is okay the next time there's realignment, which is further down the road. Making sure they are set for the college football playoff, which is going to be next year. And or scratching, clawing, and finding, you mentioned private equity, however it works, more money for the conference, no matter about realignment and the college football playoff.
Yeah, I know realignment's popular to talk about. I mean, there's like 8 teams that apparently have joined the Big 12 that haven't joined the Big 12 that have been reported on the last 2 years like that. So that's just a fun thing to grab people's attention and all of that. I don't know how much that's actually really on the front burner of him or the Big 12. And I think when they have discussed it, they've kind of said they've always maintained the open for business, but it hasn't been in an aggressive way. It hasn't been in a wink kind of nod way like it was with the Pac-12 schools, or just completely out in the open like it was with the 4 prior to that, the American schools and with BYU. Now, you could always have a trick up your sleeve, but I think they're sitting and waiting their time, and when the ACC turns into whatever it turns into, or takes whatever twists or turns it might take, I think the Big 12 would be ready for that. But I don't feel like that's on the front burner or that's the most important thing. I think the most important thing is having your spot in the playoff and establishing that as much as possible and claiming as much territory as you possibly can for yourself. So to me, that would be priority number one, because with that does come money. But if there's a 1B, and maybe for some people this would be number one, it would be the private equity or more so, not that specifically, but just ensuring money. But the only logical way I can think that you do that outside of going and asking for money is to go and earn it, and that would be through the college football playoff and the like. So I think him just entrenching the Big 12 as much as he possibly can in the CFP, in the NCAA tournament, and keeping them as much of a power conference, so to speak, as they possibly can be at this point. That's as important as anything else, because that's what separates you, really. Otherwise, you're just another conference looking for money. Well, everybody's doing that, even the ones that have all of it. And then when it comes to realignment, I just don't see the urgency at this very moment. So yeah, it's all to me about just staking their ground and trying to build on that as much as they can.
It is, they probably every day have the thought about making sure everything leads towards whenever there might be another realignment, whether it's a breakaway or not. But right now, yeah, the college football playoff, and a lot of you have said money in different ways, whether it's private equity, money. That is what has been the at least the response so far in the chat room as well.
Yeah, and my answer falls in line with that, because the more NCAA teams you have in the football playoff or the basketball playoff, that's your straightest way that you yourself can ensure that you make money, that you actually go out and earn it. You're not just handed it because you're a collection of 100-plus-year-old schools that have big fan bases, and so you just automatically kind of have that. You don't have that in the Big 12, so you got to go out and earn it, and you're not going to be given it. And so I think those go hand in hand, money. That it all leads to the same thing. So we're all on the same page there.
Garrett, anything else to add to that? Pretty much. So what's your thought on it?
I mean, I think that honestly, it comes down to if those three, I would say getting into the playoff. I think that's the most important thing, is finding a way for the Big 12 to have one. And if you could squeeze in two teams into the playoff, that's the route you need to go.
Yep.
I think that he's already made it clear that he understands the value that you can gain financially from the basketball tournament, which is why he's gone out and said he's in favor of expansion, which gives the Big 12 more teams to get in there. They finally need to get somebody to actually win it and cap it off. It's great to have all of these teams in there and represent your conference, but you need somebody to step up and get back to winning the championships to bring that revenue in. And I think with that, that's where you'll see that found revenue. I don't think there's a rush out there for adding teams or expanding. Let that come to you. As far as private equity goes, I think once the House settlement comes in and everybody's essentially on more of a level playing field, it's never going to get back to the same way, but I think that will help cap off some of that as much. So I think right now it's more about getting into the playoff and on the football and finding different ways to get teams in there.
Yeah, they have the one in the playoff. It'd be nice if one other team would earn their way into it, and even more if they're possible.
Look,
and then also, of course, already working on how many they get when it does go to 16 starting next year.
I've repeated myself on this. I've said this for, I don't know, the entire time we've been talking on this show. Just simply adding to add makes no sense. And so unless there's something out there that's just like an obvious, you're not really like keen to go and water things down even further, and that includes schedules, that includes payouts, whatever on the capital part of it. That's kind of out of my pay range, but I just think, and I've maintained this, the way to raise everything across the board is to win, period. So why is the SEC who they are? I know I'm probably sounding like I'm repeating myself for people that listen regularly. It's because they won a bunch of championships. Yep. Yes, they have the history and the fan bases and all that as well, but the reason we talk about them is not because of their history. We talk about them because they've won like what feels like 15 of the last 17 national championships in football. And so that's how you build up everything, because then in turn, you bring in more eyeballs because you're suddenly more interesting to watch. And then suddenly, what does that lead to? Oh, better ratings. Well, who likes better ratings? The TV networks. Who are the ones that are ultimately paying you? It's the TV networks, right? So like winning leads to everything else being better. And so, yeah, therefore, I think that's your main priority, is winning championships and ensuring that you have an equal opportunity to do that with whatever set number of spots or whatever ground you can carve out for yourself. And then that also, yes, does lead to money and everything, but winning leads to all the stuff that you want in the end. So I think that's got to be the most important thing. And I don't know what all he can really do outside of maybe just feeding more money to be a better team and getting more NIL and all of that. But, yeah, I mean, it all leads to money at the end of the day. That's his main job, and that's what he's seemingly always been good at. So they've got the right guy in place, I think.